Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. You know, November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and this is a topic everybody should know about because it can be a serious and deadly disease. The National Institute of Health has even described diabetes as a growing global epidemic. So today, we are debunking some common myths. Please help me welcome Valerie Burton, Program Manager at the LCMC Touro Diabetes Center, who is going to help us out today. Welcome!
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. You know, wow, I can't believe that a growing global epidemic. First, I want to ask you this, Valerie. How prevalent is diabetes in our country?
Oh, so many people have diabetes. About 11% of the U.S. population, which equals almost 40 million people, have diabetes. And then there's another 96 million people who are diagnosed with prediabetes.
Unbelievable. Yeah, you all have taken a look at some of the stats on your screen. Everybody, as you can see, it is a problem. But I'm so glad you're on the show today because I feel like so many people have conceptions about what diabetes is and what happens when you have it. But today we are debunking some of those myths, everybody. First, let's take a look at this first one right here. Eating too much sugar causes diabetes. That is a myth. Tell us more about this.
That is a myth. Food does not cause diabetes. Unfortunately, we get diabetes because we're not able to produce enough insulin. Insulin is a hormone that the body produces, and its job is to move sugar or carbohydrate into our cells where we use carbohydrate as fuel. So we need carbohydrate. It's our fuel. It's our main source of fuel. So we don't get diabetes from the fuel. We get diabetes because we're not able to either produce insulin at all, or we don't make enough insulin, or the insulin that we do make just doesn't work properly.
And I'm glad you said that because that makes sense, because obviously some people are born with diabetes, right? When they're born, they haven't really eaten any real food, right? Because they've been surviving on their mother's nutrients. I like that you said that for sure. Let's actually keep on the track of type 1 diabetes. Here's another myth, everybody. Only children get type 1 diabetes. This is one that's shocking to me because I thought it was only children, but it isn't. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Right, and I think the confusion comes because type 1 diabetes used to be termed juvenile diabetes.
Right.
But anyone at any age, at any race, can develop type 1 diabetes. And what generally happens when we develop type 1 diabetes is the body develops antibodies that attack the cells that produce insulin, causes the insulin cells to shut down. People with type 1 diabetes are no longer able to produce insulin at all. So they have to take insulin to live.
So is it with type 2 diabetes, they're producing insulin, but just not enough?
Either not enough, or what they do make doesn't work properly.
Good to know. Thank you for deciphering the difference. This next one, everybody. Being on insulin means your diabetes is worse than people who take pills for diabetes. Also a myth.
Yes, also a myth. And it's there's a stigma attached to taking insulin. You know, people think when you take insulin, ooh, your diabetes is bad when you take insulin. As a matter of fact, we have studies that show that people, especially with type 2 diabetes, when they take insulin early on in the progression of the disease, they're more likely to allow the pancreas to rest and then build up their own good insulin.
Interesting.
Taking pills stimulates the pancreas to release more insulin. So over time, you wear out those cells, and a lot of people who take the pills but don't change the diet end up having to take insulin anyway.
Unbelievable, everybody. Thank you for deciphering that. And then this next one. Carbohydrates are bad for diabetes. You talked a little bit about this, how our body needs carbohydrates.
Yes, it's our fuel. And unfortunately, there are so many delicious carbohydrates that don't have any nutrition value.
Yes.
So carbohydrates get a bad rap, but it's our source of fuel. And so there are excellent ways for us to get carbohydrates. We should get them from whole grains, from fruit, from natural starchy vegetables. Those are good for us. It's our source of energy. The problem with diabetes is we just don't produce enough insulin to take that energy where it needs to go. So if we don't produce enough insulin, we have to watch how much carbohydrate we take in, and we do have to watch the types of carbohydrate we take in. So we don't want to get those carbohydrates from donuts.
Why are you talking about me? Okay, I love donuts. We have time for one more, everybody. This one. Type 2 diabetes only affects people with obesity. A myth.
Yes, it is a myth. It's true in a sense because obesity is a risk factor for diabetes, but there are other risk factors. Obesity is not the only risk factor for developing diabetes. If you have a family history of diabetes, you are at a higher risk to develop diabetes. So it's not the only risk factor.
Some good information this morning.
Yes.
Valerie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And look, everybody, if you want more information about diabetes, the signs and symptoms, and what to do if you do have it, you can contact the LCMC Touro Diabetes Center. You're seeing the address on your screen. You can also give them a call at 504-897-8813. We'll be right back.